Okay, good afternoon, all. I'm Amit Kumar Shinde. Welcome you all for this today's session. And in this today's session, I'm going to cover how the actual production of the different products or different components are manufactured with the help of powder metallurgy technique. In that, we are going to discuss three products: self-lubricating bearing, okay, manufacturing of self-lubricating bearing, which is also known as oil impregnated porous bearing. Then cemented carbide cutting tool. After that, we are going to discuss second component, and, that is cemented carbide cutting tool. And third component will be sintered friction material. Okay, we are going to discuss these three products in manufacturing stages using the powder metallurgy technique. Okay, now one by one we are going to discuss it. But before that, I will just take a summary or a review of the previous session. Okay, in this we are going to use the different stages that general steps involved in the manufacturing of the component using powder metallurgy technique. Now, in previous session, we have discussed that. You can go through that link. I have uploaded that session using that YouTube link. In that, I have covered the concept of powder metallurgy, then different steps involved in the manufacturing a component using powder metallurgy technique. And in that, we have covered different stages like powder production. And in that powder production, we have discussed the mechanical processes, physical processes, chemical processes, and electrochemical processes. Then the second stage, we have discussed mixing or blending, and it is done to obtain uniform and homogeneous mixture of different powders. And in the third step, we are doing the compacting or pressing operation, and it is done in three steps: filling, pressing, and ejection. And at the end, we will get the green compact. Then that green compact is subjected to the sintering stage. In this, we are going to heat the component at higher temperature zone for a few minutes to few hours, depending on the composition of that material and desired shape and size. And after sintering, that sintering process is completed in three stages: diffusion, densification, and last stage will be recrystallization and grain growth. Then sizing or machining is done. During the sintering, some decrease in the shape and size may take place. To correct it, we are going to do the sizing operation, or sometimes we can go for machining operation. And after that, the final stage is testing and inspection. Whichever product we have manufactured, that we are going to check whether it is correct in shape and size related to all dimensions, and whether it is having any defect or it is a defect free. And we are checking its all properties like its microstructure, composition, then its tensile strength, compression strength, hardness, porosity. All these characteristics we are going to check in this testing and inspection method. And if we found that product is defect free and it is providing optimum properties which we required in our practical use, then it is certified and means it is marked as okay for practical use. Okay, this is these are just overview. After that, we have discussed the advantages, disadvantages, and application in brief. I have discussed that. You can refer that session. I have added its YouTube link also. Now in this today's session, we are going to discuss manufacturing of self lubricating bearing, then friction material. It is also known as sintered friction material, and cemented carbide cutting tool. These three components, how they are manufactured using this powder metallurgy technique, that we are going to discuss. Here, the different stages will be there. And while learning these manufacturing processes, means learning the steps in the powder metallurgy technique, here, along with that, or simultaneously, I will explain how to draw the flow chart of this manufacturing process for this powder metallurgy technique. Okay. Now, one by one, we will discuss it. Now, I will start with the first product, that is self-lubricating bearing. This self-lubricating bearing is also termed as a porous bearing or oil-impregnated porous bearing. Why it is known as porous bearing, that I will explain at the end of the this point. Means after completing the manufacturing process, I will explain it why the name is given as porous bearing. Okay. Now initially we will start uh, this step. Our first step in this is the powder production. Okay. The whichever powders are required here, this self lubricating bearings are manufactured by using different materials. We can go for brass, then bronzes, or iron and aluminum alloys. These materials can be used for manufacturing of this self lubricating bearing, but generally we are using bronzes for manufacturing of self lubricating bearing. And bronzes are nothing but, which bronze we are going to use here? We are going to use tin bronze. Okay. Copper will be base metal or parent element, and tin will be alloying element. And here the composition, approximate composition is 90% copper and 10% tin. This composition we are going to use, and along with it a very small amount of graphite or any other binder is required. It is added in very small quantity. Okay. Here we require copper, tin and graphite powder. Now these powders, first you have to decide the composition. After deciding the composition, then you have to manufacture this copper powder, tin powder, with the help of suitable powder production methods. Okay. In there are different powder production methods. Mechanical processes are there, then physical processes, chemical processes, and electrochemical processes. And out of these, whichever is suitable for this copper and tin, you can select it. For that you can refer my previous session, and you can find the suitable method. And these copper and tin powders are manufactured in this first stage. And after manufacturing or producing these powders, copper and tin powder, along with some graphite, they are given to the next stage. That second stage is mixing or blending. It is also termed as mixing or blending. Then in this mixing stage, we are going to obtain uniform and homogeneous mixture of these powder particles. Okay. Now here our aim is to obtain uniform and homogeneous mixture. And during the next stage, that is compacting, there is friction between the metal die cavity and punch walls. Okay, die cavity walls and punch walls. To reduce that friction, we are adding graphite. This graphite will act as a lubricant. Okay, this graphite will act as a lubricant, and it will help you in the compacting or pressing stage. And before the sintering step, you have to remove this graphite by conducting one pre-sintering process. Okay, because if it get carried in your final product, then its strength will get decreased due to presence of this graphite. Okay. So in the second stage, we have collected here copper, tin, along with very small amount of graphite. Here 90:10 ratio is taken for copper and tin, and very small amount of graphite is collected, and uniform and homogeneous mixture is obtained. And here this mixing process, we can use different blenders or mixing devices like Y-cone blender, double cone blender, then blade mixer, screw mixer, or rotating drum. Different devices are available. With the help of that devices, uh, we will able to obtain the uniform and homogeneous mixture of this copper, tin, and graphite. And then that mixture is given in the compacting stage. Okay, here I have given the symbol. This is the symbol for mixing. We have drawn here one drum, okay, rotating drum, and here I have indicated copper powder, tin powder, and graphite powder. This is the symbol for mixing stage. Okay, just a simple rotating drum you have to draw and indicate the powders which you are using in that stage. And after this, we are moving to the second stage. This is the flow chart. Okay. And the second stage is pressing. This is the symbol for pressing or compacting stage. Okay, this is die cavity, and this is the punch, and we are applying pressure. And here you have to mention the compacting pressure value. Okay, now in this compacting stage, whichever uniform and homogeneous mixture you have obtained in the mixing stage, then it is poured in the metal die cavity with the help of a feed shoe or a hopper, and its volume is adjusted. Powder volume is adjusted by adjusting or raising or lowering the lower punch or lower plunger of that metal die cavity. Okay, and after filling it completely, you have to level it with a sweep of feed shoe, and after that the pressing is done. Okay, this is the first stage, filling. In this compacting, three steps will be there. This is the first stage, filling the powder in the die cavity. Then in the second stage we are going to do the actual pressing. Here we are going to apply the pressure. Okay, now in this self lubricating bearing, we are just using cold compacting, means just pressure is applied. We are not using any heat here. This will be also termed as cold compacting. Now sufficient amount of pressure is applied so that a proper bond will get created in this pressing stage between the powder particles. Now the generally used pressure for this manufacturing of self-lubricating bearing is 30 to 50 kg per mm square. Within this range, you have to use the pressure. If pressure values are lesser than this, whichever product is obtained at the end of that compacting stage, powder, it will be very fragile. Means powder is very loosely attached. It will get separated from that component. And suppose you have exceeded the pressure values, you are using the more pressures, then what will happen? Here, this punch walls or this die cavity walls may get damaged, Hence, you have to use the pressure values within this range only, 30 to 50 kg per mm square, for this self-lubricating bearing. Then after sufficient pressing, the third step in this compacting process is ejection. Now from this die cavity, by raising this lower punch or plunger, the component is removed from this die cavity, and that removed component or component obtained at the end of this pressing or compacting stage is termed as a green compact. Okay, now here during this compacting stage, what changes will occur here? During this compacting stage, whichever powder particles are there, some voids or gaps are there, that gaps will get eliminated or reduced. That gaps are reduced. That is the first stage, and due to this, density of the component is increased. Then the second effect of compacting is, here some addition will occur, addition or some bonding, or you can say some welding will take place between the powder particles. Means this copper and tin particles, or copper and copper particles, they will form a bond. Okay, or addition will occur due to the pressing. Okay, and it will increase the strength of that component will get improved. Then sometimes due to the have this pressing, proper pressing, there will be some plastic deformation may occur in the powder particles, and this plastic deformed powder particles will help in the sintering stage. It will help in the sintering stage. So after this, after completing this compacting process, now the component obtained is termed as compact or green compact, and it is subjected to the next stage, that is sintering. Now here sintering is done in two steps. Okay, I have increased one step here, pre-sintering and the actual sintering method. Now the aim of conducting the pre-sintering and actual sintering is different. I will explain it. Initially, after obtaining the green compact or component at the end of compacting or pressing stage is collected, and the pre-sintering is done on it. And what is the meaning of this pre-sintering? That component or green compact is heated at 400 degrees Celsius temperature range for sorry, for a few minutes or few hours, depending on the shape and size of that component. Then during this pre-sintering stage, what will happen? Whichever graphite we have added in the mixing stage, which is helping us for providing, or which helped us to get the sufficient lubrication in the pressing stage, that graphite, or if any other lubricant you have used, uh, that we are eliminating. Okay, we in the pre-sintering process by heating that green compact at 400 degrees Celsius, whichever lubricants or like graphite or silica which you have added, that are removed, and then that component is given to the sintering stage. Okay, so after doing pre-sintering, the next step is the sintering, and this is the symbol for sintering stage. Okay, this symbol here, you can mention the temperature in degree Celsius. Okay, I have written here in degree Celsius. Okay, in the sintering stage, what is done here, that component after pre-sintering stage is taken and it is heated at 800 degrees Celsius temperature for 5 minutes. Okay, sintering time is very short, only for 5 minutes. We are heating it at 800 degrees Celsius. Okay, and during this heating, what will happen? Diffusion will start. Okay, these tin particles, we are having mixture of copper and tin. Then these tin particles start melting. Okay, they will get converted into liquid stage, and that molten liquid tin material will get diffused on the copper. Okay, the tin will start melting, or it will get converted into liquid stage, and it gets diffused on the copper particles. In this way diffusion occurs, and due to this diffusion, the particle size decreases, amount of porosity decreases, which is termed as the densification of the component. And in the third stage, as the tin particles are diffused on the copper particles and at high temperature range, means the uh, older grains are broken and formation of new grains is occurring. Okay, and this will be termed as recrystallization and grain growth. uh, and after this 5 minutes, this process, sintering process, will get completed with three steps: diffusion, densification, and recrystallization and grain growth. Then, okay, in this sintering stage, diffusion of tin particles will occur on the copper material, copper powder particles. Then due to this diffusion, decrease in size will occur and porosity is also decreased, and densification will take place, densification of the component, and formation, recrystallization and grain growth will occur, and we will get the increased strength and hardness in that component, along with more density, or along with improved density. Then this sintered component is taken and it is given to the next stage, that is the sizing or machining stage. Okay, now in this sizing or machining stage, already we have discussed that during the sintering process, some decrease in the, or some changes in the shape and size of that component may occur. Okay, and to correct it, we are doing the sizing or machining. If suppose, if on the surface, okay, specifically for this manufacturing of this self lubricating bearing, if on the surface pores are there and that pores are of larger size, then we are going to do the sizing with the help of a master die. Okay, one master die cavity, and with the help of two punches or plungers, we are going to do the sizing. If pore size on the surface of that component is larger or more size is there, then sizing is done. And if the pore size which is present on the surface of that product or component is very small, then we cannot do the sizing, because due to sizing that small size pores will get closed. Hence we will move towards the machining. We will remove, means we will give the desired shape and size with the help of light machining operations. Then after correcting the shape and size with the help of sizing or machining operation, that component is subjected to the next stage. Now this is a very important stage. This is specifically for this self-lubricating bearing only, impregnation stage. Okay. Now this is the means last stage before testing and inspection. Impregnation. In this impregnation stage, what we are doing, the surfaces of that component or product, that pores will be filled with the help of oil. Okay, we are using some hot oil and we are filling the pores which are present on the surface, and this method is termed as the impregnation method. And after filling the pores which are present on the surface, that component is a manufactured component is termed as self-lubricating bearing, and it is subjected to the final stage, that is testing and inspection. Then this manufactured self-lubricating bearing, it's tested for its correctness related to shape, size. Then it is also tested for its properties like microstructure, then its composition, and its tensile strength, amount of porosity, hardness. And it is also inspected for whether any kind of defect is present in that manufactured self-lubricating bearing. And if properties are found satisfactory and it is a defect free, then it is marked as a okay component to use for actual practical purpose. In this way, after testing and inspection, the final obtained self-lubricating bearing can be used for actual practical use. So these are the stages which we are using in the manufacturing the self-lubricating bearing with the help of this powder metallurgy technique. Now, the question arises here, why it is termed as self-lubricating bearing? Okay, self-lubricating bearing. Few questions are there. Means why it is termed as self-lubricating bearing, and why it is termed as porous bearing. Why we are not terming it simple word by bearing it? Okay, so why it is termed as self-lubricating bearing? As in the impregnation stage, we have filled the pores on that surface with the help of hot oil. During the practical use, automatically that oil will come out and it will provide the necessary lubrication. No external lubricant is required. Hence this is termed as self lubricating bearing. Okay, self lubricating bearing. And why it is termed as porous bearing? Because it has uh, approximately 20 to 30% porosity is there. Hence it is also termed as porous bearing. And whichever surface pores are there on surface, that pores are filled with the oil only, and it will which will provide the lubrication in the practical use of that bearing. Okay, so these are some reasons why it is termed as porous bearing, self lubricating bearing, and oil impregnated porous bearing. Okay, we have done the impregnation method with the help of oil, hence it is termed as oil impregnated porous bearing. Okay, so these are the steps, and along with that steps, the various parameters of compacting pressure. Initially the composition of the powders, then compacting pressure, pre-sintering temperature, then sintering temperature and sintering time, and different operations performed. sizing or machining or impregnation, then testing and inspection. Okay, like this, in this way. And you can draw the flow chart for manufacturing of self-lubricating bearing like this. This is the symbol for mixing. Okay, this is symbol of rotating drum or a mixer. Then this is the symbol for pressing or compacting operation, punch and die cavity. And this is the sintering. Okay, means heating in the furnace, like that this symbol is given. Now while conducting the sintering, here the sintering is conducted in controlled environment. It may be a reducing environment, okay, or neutral environment. Then sizing, okay, sizing or machining symbol will be like this. This is the impregnation. Just you have to write the impregnation, and here you can write the oil at some hot oil we are filling, and at the end self lubricating bearing is obtained. Okay, now here related to the some properties, few points are there. Now these self lubricating bearings manufactured, they will give you the porosity up to 20 to 30% porosity will be provided, so that pores can be used for filling or retaining the oil. Okay, porosity will be given. Then the next property which is desired in this self lubricating bearing is it should have sufficient load carrying capacity while it is used. Okay, it should have sufficient porosity, then strength, so that it can carry the load also. Then whichever pores are there on the surface, largest proportion of that pores should be interconnected. Okay, that pores should be interconnected and they should be uniformly distributed. This is another requirement of a good bearing or good porous bearing. And the fourth is the it should have very good dimensional accuracy, or close dimensional accuracy should be obtained in this. These four parameters or these four properties should be there, so that this self lubricating bearing can be practically used. Okay, now before discussing the actual means where this self lubricating bearing is used, uh, before that I will explain the two working conditions here. Okay, depending on the oil retaining capacity or amount of the pores on that bearing, two conditions will be there. The first condition will be like this. Okay, if uh, the bearing manufactured, self lubricating bearing manufactured, it has less pores. Okay, less pores on the surface, then oil retaining capacity is less, but load carrying capacity is more. Okay, and as load carrying capacity is more, then that kind of bearing is used for heavy load and low speed applications. Okay, please listen it carefully. I will repeat it again. If amount of pores on the in that bearing are less, then its oil retaining capacity is less, but its load carrying capacity is more, and hence these bearings can be used for heavy load and slow speed or low speed applications. This is the first working condition. Then the second working condition for this bearing is I will explain it now. Here in the second condition, amount of pores on the surface will be more, then oil retaining capacity of that bearing is more. Okay, as amount of pores are more, oil retaining capacity is also more, but its strength will be less, means load carrying capacity is low. Okay, more oil retaining capacity but strength is low, hence these kind of bearings are used for low load and high speed applications. Okay, these are two working conditions. Okay, now it is clearer for you, means which bearing is used for high load and slow speed applications, and which bearings are suitable for low load and high speed applications. Okay, depending on its oil retaining capacity, which will be decided based on the surface pores. Okay, that you can determine its use. Then the next point here, how it will provide or how it will actually work during its use. Okay, suppose there is one rotating shaft. Okay, there suppose bearing is there. uh, okay, now due to this rotating shaft, okay, what will happen when that shaft start rotating with high speed, then there is a friction between that shaft and bearing. Okay, friction will be there between that shaft and bearing, and some amount of heat is generated. Some amount of heat is generated due to the friction. And what will happen, as heat is generated, then oil present on the surface of that bearing, it will its viscosity will decrease, and volume will viscosity decreases and volume increases, and it starts coming out from that bearing, and it will spread over that shaft, and it will provide the lubrication. Okay, I will repeat it again how the actual lubrication occurs. When shaft rotates with high speed, then that bearing will get heated, means frictional heat will get generated, and due to that frictional heat, the viscosity of the oil decreases. Okay, and due to the rise in temperature, volume will increase and it will start coming out. Okay, it will become thinner. Okay, that whichever oil is there, it will start flowing on that rotating shaft, and lubrication is provided. And if the reverse case will be like this, when the shaft speed decreases, amount of frictional heat will decrease. Okay, amount of frictional heat will decrease, and due to this, temperature and pressure falls. There will be sudden drop in temperature and pressure, and due to capillary action, what will happen, whichever oil is there on that shaft, it will again flows back in that bearing. This is occurring due to the capillary action. Due to sudden drop in temperature and pressure, that oil will get or it will flow back in the bearing itself. Okay, in this way that self lubricating bearing works. Okay, depending on the capillary action and some amount of frictional heat generated, it will work and it will provide the self lubrication. External lubrication is not required in this case. Okay, that's why it is termed as self lubricating bearing only. And where these bearings are used, okay, where these bearings are used, these bearings have wide applications, which okay, now these bearings manufactured, these are used in the field where the location in that industry will be inaccessible, or which will be very difficult to do the lubrication. Okay, in the means while in the working conditions, suppose for example in the food industry or textile industry, it is very difficult to do the lubrication while that instrument is in working condition. Okay, where that machine parts are inaccessible or very difficult to do the lubrication, at that time these self lubricating bearings are used. Okay, then the next application is in the food industry or in textile industry, where our desire is that whichever food or that textile products are there, it should not get contaminated with the oil. In that sector, we are using these porous bearings only. Then other okay, these porous bearings, yes, in previous session already I have discussed this. These porous bearings are used in starters, wipers, sliding doors, dynamos, then clutches and brakes of cars, buses, trucks, and tractors. So these are the applications of porous bearings. Okay, porous bearings are used for starters, then wipers on your vehicle, wipers are there, sliding doors are there, then dynamos, then clutches and brakes of different vehicles like cars, buses, or even trucks and tractors. These are heavy vehicles also. We are using this porous bearings only. Okay. So if you have any query, you can mention that in the chat box. So after discussing this manufacturing of self-lubricating bearing or porous bearing or oil impregnated porous bearing, I will move towards the second component. Okay, this is our second component, manufacturing of friction material. If you have any doubts, please let me know through chat box. Okay, now we will move towards the second component, manufacturing of this friction material. Okay, we have only three components here, and after that, this concept will be completed. Manufacturing of friction material. Okay, now before moving to the actual manufacturing of this friction material with the help of this powder metallurgy technique, now we will try to understand. We will try to understand here the what are the properties required in the friction material. Okay, this friction materials we are using in the brakes. Okay, we are using in the brakes. Then what are the characteristics required or desired properties in that product? Means it should give you what will be the properties for that. Okay, the means whichever friction material is there, it should have sufficient coefficient of friction. Okay, sufficient coefficient of friction should be there. Then the second property required or desired in this friction material is the minimum reduction in the coefficient of friction due to due to rise in the temperature. There should be minimum fall in the coefficient of friction. Then whichever friction material is there, the damage should not occur, or very minimum tears should be there. Wear and tear should be very minimum. And another property required in the friction material is it should have very good thermal conductivity, and it should provide sufficient corrosion resistance, and it should have sufficient load carrying capacity so that it should not get easily distorted. Okay, so these are some properties that we desired in the friction material. Now all these properties we cannot able to get these properties with the one or two powder or one or two materials or one or two powder particles. So that several powders are required here, approximately 5 6 powders we are taking here, which will, so that we will get the get a product which will provide all these characteristics that are required in the friction material. Okay, and for this here the general composition used is, means in that bronzes only, in that tin bronzes only, by reducing the percentage of copper and tin, we are adding lead, iron, graphite and silica. Okay, this graphite and silica, they can act as a lubricant also. Okay, and this lead, iron is there. This lead will improve the toughness, or that distorting ability will be increased, or machinability will be improved. This iron will give this tensile strength. Okay, in copper and tin. Okay, so these powders are required. Now, the first stage involved in the manufacturing of this friction material with the help of powder metallurgy technique, the first stage is powder production. Now, this copper powder, tin powder, lead powder, iron, graphite, and silica powders are manufactured by selecting the suitable powder production method from the available four categories. You can go for mechanical processes, chemical processes, physical processes, or electrochemical processes, depending on the powder characteristics required in the, we can choose depending on our properties required in the final product. You have to choose the powder characteristics here only, and depending on the required powder characteristics, the suitable method is selected, and that powders are produced or manufactured, and then they are given in the mixing stage. Now, in this mixing stage, uniform and homogeneous mixture of these powders are obtained. Now, here the percentage will be like this: copper 68%, tin 8%, lead 7%, iron 7%, graphite 6%, and silica 4%. Uh, and their uniform and homogeneous mixture is obtained. And we can go for uh, different mixing devices or blending devices. We can use Y-cone blender. Generally, double cone blender is used to obtain uniform and homogeneous mixture of these powders. And now here, as we are having number of powder particles, they are having there will be very high difference in their densities. Now, to avoid their segregation, okay, to avoid the segregation, here some extra lubricants are used. Okay, some extra lubricants or some amount of oil is added to avoid the segregation of these powder particles because of the high difference in their densities. Okay, and that is done in the mixing stage only, and their uniform and homogeneous mixture is obtained with the help of suitable mixing or blending devices, and that uniform and homogeneous mixture is given to the next stage, that is the compacting stage. Okay, in that compacting stage, okay, here I will explain it saying, and this is the mixing, or this is the mixer or your rotating drum. Here you can mention all powders: graphite, iron, and then copper, tin, lead. Okay, like this, all powders you have to mention here, and its mixing is done and it's subjected to the compacting or pressing stage. Here the pressing or compacting is done in three stages. The first stage is filling the die cavity, filling of that die cavity with the help of a feed shoe or hopper. Then the volume is adjusted with the by raising or lowering the lower punch, and after filling the die cavity, it is leveled with a sweep. We are just sweeping it. This leveling is done, and now pressure is applied with the help of punches. You can use one punch to apply the pressure, or simultaneously both punches can be used to do the pressing operation. Now here pressure values or compacting pressure values used in this manufacturing of friction material is less than 30 kg per mm square. Okay, after sufficient pressing, after the feeling pressing, that component is ejected in the third step, which is termed as ejection, and that component obtained is termed as green compact. Okay, you have to select the proper pressures. Here you have to mention the pressure value. Then it is subjected to the pre-sintering, which is done at 400 degrees Celsius. Pre-sintering is done. Okay, pre-sintering is done. Pre-sintering and sintering both are done in the controlled reducing atmosphere. Here pre-sintering is done to remove the oil, the whichever oil we have added, to give the necessary uniform and homogeneous mixture and to help in the compacting or pressing stage. That extra oil or that oil added is eliminated by heating that component at 400 degrees Celsius, and After that, it is subjected to the main sintering stage or sintering operation. Now, in this sintering operation, here that compact, which is pre-sintered now, it is heated at 800 degrees Celsius, high temperature region, for 4 to 6 hours. Okay, here sintering time is very high. 4 to 6 hours sintering time is given, and now here at this temperature, what will happen? These tin particles will start diffusing on copper and other iron particles. Okay, it will start a diffusion. The tin particles will melt and it will start diffusing on the other metal powder particles. And due to this, during the decrease in the shape and size of that component will occur, which is termed as a densification. And due to the diffusion, older grains are broken and formation of new grains takes place, and their development occurs, which is termed as recrystallization and grain growth process. And all these three stages, that is diffusion, densification, recrystallization, and grain growth, completes in this 4 to 6 hours time of sintering at 800 degrees Celsius temperature, which is conducted in this reducing atmosphere. Okay, now after sintering process is completed, this component is subjected to the sizing or machining. During sintering process, the shape and size of that component is decreased. Okay, it is a little bit decreased, or some uh, distortion is there. Now it is corrected by conducting one machining operation. A simple light machining operation is done and it is corrected. Or you can do this size rectification with the help of a master die and the punch arrangement. You can do this sizing, which is also termed as coining process. And after doing the sizing or this machining, that component is given to the testing and inspection. Okay, this is the final component obtained, and it is this friction material is termed as sintered friction material, because we have done the sintering process on it. Okay, now it will give you the desired strength also. After sintering, desired strength and hardness will be given in that material. Okay, with sufficient coefficient of friction. Okay, and it is tested and inspected for its shape, size, and different properties or characteristics, like microstructure, then its composition, tensile strength, compressive strength, hardness, if any kind of porosity is there. All these properties are tested and it is also inspected. And this testing and inspection, we can do, or we can use different destructive testing methods and non-destructive testing methods to do the testing and inspection of this final component. And then we will get the final product. And that final product, that is sintered friction material, is ready for our practical use. And this sintered friction material, okay, it is widely used in the automobile application. Okay, here I have highlighted it, sintered friction materials. You can refer it. Sintered friction materials are used for manufacturing of brakes, and these brakes are widely used in automobile sector, in different cars, trucks, buses, or in aircraft industry also. The brake material is manufactured from this sintered friction material only. Okay, so these are the wide applications of this sintered friction material. If you have any difficulty, you can mention that in the chat box. Please let me know if you have any doubt related to this manufacturing process of friction material or sintered friction material. Why it is termed as sintered, that we have also discussed, and their properties. Okay, whichever sintered friction material is manufactured here, it will provide you sufficient coefficient of friction, and it will provide that coefficient of, means loss of in that coefficient of friction will be very minimum in increasing temperature conditions also. And it will provide you distorting ability. Then this sintered material will have sufficient load carrying capacity and strength with very good corrosion resistance also. It will provide you very good corrosion resistance also. So these are properties. Okay, and it has very good thermal conductivity and some audible. Yes, it will give you very good thermal conductivity and amount of wear or tear or loss of material during the friction is very less in this sintered friction material. Okay, if any doubt is there, let me know via chat box. Otherwise, I will continue this session and I will move towards the third and final component, which is part of this third year syllabus. Okay. Okay, now this is the third component that we are going to discuss, the manufacturing of cemented carbide cutting tool. These are the steps involved in the manufacturing of cemented carbide cutting tool. Okay, now this cemented carbide cutting tool, you will find that number of stages are more, but you will find that is sintering here. Three ways of sintering are here depending on temperature zones. Okay, pre-sintering, preliminary sintering, then final sintering, and machining is done in two different ways. That's why I have highlighted here two steps of machining and fine or final machining. Okay, that's why you will find that stages are more. Okay, actually only 5-6 stages will be there. Okay, now these cemented carbide cutting tools. Okay, initially you have to decide the powders required for manufacturing of this component. Now these cemented carbide cutting tools, in these cutting tools, we require very high hardness and strength, and it will be provided by the carbides of refractory metals. Okay, whichever refractory metals are there, tungsten, molybdenum, titanium, thorium, cobalt, all these are refractory metals or tantalum. These are refractory metals from their respective carbides. Okay, their respective carbides are taken, and from that carbides we are manufacturing the cutting tools. Okay, now here these carbides cannot be easily melted because their melting point temperature are very high, above 1500 or above 2000. They're having very high melting points. Now here what we are going to do to join them or to create the bond, we are using the binders. Okay, here which binders we are going to use? We are going to use cobalt. Okay, cobalt is having melting point in the temperature zone 1300 to 1500 degrees Celsius. That's why this cobalt material is used as binder. Okay, to join the carbides, okay, generally we are going to use carbides of tungsten or carbides of molybdenum for manufacturing of this uh, carbide cutting tools. Okay, carbide cutting tools. And now to create bond between these powder particles, bond between tungsten powder particles or molybdenum powder particles, we are going to use some binding metals or binding alloys. And generally used binding metals will be either we are using cobalt or nickel or chromium, or we can use cobalt nickel alloy or cobalt nickel chromium alloys, and they will work or they will act as a binder, means they will create the bond between the tungsten carbide particles, or they will create the bond between molybdenum carbide particles. Okay, now here related to their percentage, the carbide particles, suppose tungsten you have taken, and carbides of tungsten will be 80%, and 20% amount of these binder materials will be there. It may be simply metals like cobalt, nickel, or chromium, or you can use the cobalt nickel alloy or cobalt nickel chromium alloys as the binder. Okay, whichever binder elements we are using, 20% will be they will present in 20%, and the remaining 80% will be of carbides of tungsten or carbides of molybdenum, whichever you have selected. Okay, then these powder particles, now how these powder particles are manufactured. Now generally we have discussed in our previous session, you can refer to that YouTube link, that these tungsten, molybdenum and cobalt powder particles, or these chromium powder particles, are manufactured by using the reduction method. We are going to use chemical processes for manufacturing these powders, and in that we are going to do the use the reduction method, means from their respective oxide compounds. Okay, tungsten oxide or molybdenum oxide. Tungsten will be obtained by reduction of tungsten oxide by using copper or hydrogen, carbon or hydrogen in the reducing atmosphere. Okay, mm, from tungsten oxide, tungsten particles are obtained and their respective carbides are formed, and that we are going to use. Molybdenum powder particles are obtained from molybdenum oxide. Okay, and they are reduced by reduction chemical process with the help of hydrogen. Okay, then that cobalt powder is also obtained, cobalt or chromium powder. These also can be obtained by reduction of their respective oxides. Okay, and this reduction is done by using the carbon or suppose hydrogen. Okay, in this way, by using suitable chemical process, here we are generally using chemical processes, and these powder particles are produced or manufactured, and that will be the first stage of this manufacturing of cemented carbide cutting tool. Then all these carbides of tungsten or carbides of molybdenum with cobalt or cobalt nickel or cobalt nickel chromium alloys are given in the mixing stage. Okay, second stage is mixing stage. In this, with the help of different mixing devices or different mixers, it may be blade mixer, screw mixer, or different blenders, double cone blender or Y-cone blender, we are obtaining here uniform and homogeneous mixture. And here some lubricants are also added. Okay, lubricants are added. These lubricants will be like this. Okay, different lubricants are added. We are using glycerin in alcohol. Okay, then glycerin alcohol can be used as the lubricant. Then paraffin, you can use the um, camphor. Okay, camphor in ether. Okay, this can be used as the lubricant, or paraffin wax in the petrol. Okay, these three different lubricants are there: camphor in ether, paraffin wax in the petrol, okay, or glycerin in the alcohol. These three lubricants are added in this mixing stage. That will help us in the compacting process, and we will obtain the uniform and homogeneous mixture with the help of suitable mixers or blenders. Then that uniform mixture obtained will be given in the compacting stage, and in this compacting stage we are doing the three stages: peeling, pressing and ejection. And the compacting pressure used is 35 to 45 kg per mm square range. Within this range, sufficient compacting is done, and by raising the lower punch or plunger, that green compact is obtained, and it is given to the sintering. Now three ways, different sinterings are conducted in three ways. The first sintering will be termed as pre-sintering, okay, which is carried out or conducted at 400 degrees Celsius. Okay, at 400 degrees Celsius, this pre-sintering will occur, and here whichever lubricants we have added in the mixing stage, okay, that lubricants are removed or eliminated by heating the component at this 400 degrees Celsius temperature. Then the preliminary sintering is conducted, and that heating the component at 900 degrees Celsius to 1150 degrees Celsius temperature zone. And in this temperature zone, what will happen here? Now, here the strength and hardness of that component is increased, and some diffusion will occur and densification will occur in that component. Okay, some diffusion means little plastic deformation will occur in that powder particles. This is the preliminary sintering. Here we will get the improved strength and hardness, and then the final sintering is conducted at 1350 degrees Celsius to 1550 degrees Celsius temperature range, and this final sintering is done for 2 hours. Now in this final sintering at this high temperature range, what will happen? Whichever cobalt particles are there, okay, it may be cobalt in separate cobalt metal, or in the it may be in the form of alloy. Now that cobalt will start melting. Okay, it will start melting, and it goes into the molten form, and this molten form cobalt, it will create a bond, or it will act as a binder to join tungsten carbide particles or molybdenum carbide particles. Means the bond will get created, and this process is termed as cementation process. Okay, cobalt will get it melts, and it joins or creates the bond between tungsten carbide particles or molybdenum carbide particles. This process is termed as a cementation process. Okay, so this is taking in the final sintering, and very large amount of diffusion and changes in the dimensions are occurring in this final sintering due to diffusion of the cobalt. Now here one proper care you have to take, that whichever desired shape and size is there, you have to select the component before the in the compacting or sintering stage. Oversized component you have to manufacture. Then at the final sintering, you will get the approximate shape and size. It's very near to your requirement. Okay, and sometimes in before doing this final sintering, after preliminary sintering, some machining or sizing operations can be performed. Okay, after preliminary sintering, some changes are there, and some size rectification, sizing or machining operation, sizing operations can be done after preliminary sintering, and then it is given to the final sintering. And selecting, while manufacturing only, we will try to manufacture the component with oversize, so that after the final sintering we will get the component very much with the required dimensions or near to the required dimensions. Then after the final sintering, okay, in this final sintering, diffusion of cobalt will take place, and cementation of that tungsten carbides or molybdenum carbide particle will occur. And then this is conducted in 2 hours, and then it is that component or sintered component is collected, and the machining on it is done. And here machining is done in two ways. First is the rough machining, and which is done with the help of silicon carbide grinding wheels, and final or fine machining is done by metal bonded diamond wheels. Okay, final or uh, fine machining is done with the help of uh, metal bonded diamond wheels, and then the final component is obtained, and it is given for testing and inspection with the help of different destructive and non-destructive testing method. That components different properties like tensile strength, toughness, then its hardness, compression strength, then its microstructure, amount of porosity, if any is there, it is checked. then its shape and size is inspected, and then whether any kind of defect is there. All these are tested and inspected in this last stage, and after finding it with the optimum characteristics, that component is suggested for the practical use. Okay, in this way, these cemented carbide cutting tools are manufactured. Now same I have highlighted here with the help of the flow chart. This is the flow chart for manufacturing of this cemented carbide cutting tools by powder metallurgy technique. Okay. Tungsten carbide or other carbide particles, molybdenum carbide particles are manufactured by that. Cobalt powder particles are manufactured by a reduction method, and they are given in this milling, or this is mixing process only. In some books it is mentioned as the milling, and here only we are uh, adding some lubricants like paraffin wax in petrol, then camphor in ether, or glycerin in alcohol. That lubricants are added to provide sufficient lubrication. In the here pressing is done at 35 to 45 kg per mm square pressure. Then this, after completing this pressing in 3 stages, by filling it in the die cavity, then sufficient pressing and obtaining the green compact by ejection from that die cavity, and that component is subjected to the pre-sintering. And after the pre-sintering done at 400 degrees Celsius, here I have shown only one sintering operation. You can show the okay, here pre-sintering, preliminary sintering I have shown, preliminary and final sintering. Before that you can show pre-sintering, symbol will be same, just change the temperature 400 degrees Celsius, and in the reducing or hydrogen atmosphere you can mention. And it is done to pre-sintering is done to remove the lubricants which you have added in the mixing stage for helping the pressing operation. Then it is that oil is eliminated by doing the sintering at 400 degrees Celsius, and pre-sintering is done, okay, in the temperature zone 900 to 1150 degrees Celsius. Okay, and if required, here the sizing is done before final sintering operation. Sizing is done, and then it is given to the final sintering operation. Okay, which is done at 1350 to 1550 degrees Celsius in the reducing or hydrogen atmosphere or controlled environment. And here we are doing this final sintering for 2 hours, where cobalt melts and it cements or joins the carbide particles which are present in that powder mixture. Okay, and hence it is termed as cementation method, and that this carbide cutting tool is termed as cemented carbide cutting tool, because cementation is occurring due to melting of cobalt. And then after sintering, it is subjected to the rough and fine or final, you can say machining, which is done by rough machining is done by silicon carbide grinding wheels. Here you can see that, and the final or fine machining is done by metal bonded diamond wheels. Okay, here it is grinding, lapping or machining, and after that component is manufactured and is given, tested and inspected for different properties. Its shape, size and defects are inspected or checked, and if it is found okay, then it is suggested for practical use. So in this way, these cemented carbide cutting tools are manufactured. If you have any doubt or difficulty, please let me know via chat box. Okay, in this way, I have finished this powder metallurgy chapter I have added. I will add this session also on the YouTube. You can refer it. Okay. In this way, I have completed the powder metallurgy, introduction to the powder metallurgy, and in this we have learned the concept of powder metallurgy, and then different powder production methods, and then how to manufacture, general steps involved in the manufacturing of a component using powder metallurgy technique, like powder production and mixing or blending, compacting, centering, and sizing or machining, and testing and inspection. And we have discussed the advantages, disadvantages, and applications of powder metallurgy technique. And in applications, and in this today's session, we have discussed the manufacturing of self-lubricating bearing in sintered friction material or friction material, and cemented carbide cutting tools, along with different steps involved in the manufacturing, and along with their flow charts. Okay, flow charts for manufacturing of all these three components. Okay, I have explained it. That definite symbol you have to use while drawing the um, that flow chart, how to draw the flow chart for all components. I have discussed this. In this way, I have completed this introduction to the powder metallurgy. Okay, if you have any doubt, we can let me know via chat box. Okay, if you are not having any doubt, I will just summarize this session. Okay, this is one common chart also I have added here. Okay, this is the symbol for, I will explain the symbols for the various operations, which will help you to draw the flow charts. Okay, so this is the symbol for reduction operation. Okay, reduction operation, and this is the temperature range you have to mention, and whichever environment you are using, that you can write at the top. Okay, first symbol is for mixing. Okay, just a rotating drum you have to draw and mention the powders which you are using. This is the mixing or blending stage. Then in the pressing, this is the pressing symbol. Just you have to draw this die cavity and one punch. And this is the pressure direction. And here you have to mention the pressure value. Indicate the pressure value here. And then the next symbol is the symbol for sintering. At the top, you have to mention the environment you are using, the temperature you have used. Sintering may be different sinterings may be there. Pre-sintering, simple sintering operation, and cemented carbide cutting tool. We have discussed preliminary sintering and final sintering. Just indicate that below that symbol, whichever temperature zone you have used, you have to mention that. And along with the time of that sintering, you can mention in this box only. And the environment used for conducting that sintering method, you have to use. You have to mention this symbol and use this box for indicating the temperature zone. Okay, then this is the symbol. This symbol you can see here. This is symbol for sizing or machining operation. Sizing or machining operation. Okay, and this is the symbol for drawing, wire drawing operation. I have explained here wire drawing. So you can draw wire drawing operation. Okay, repetitively these same symbols you have to use. Okay, this is the symbol for machining or sizing. This is symbol for mixing, blending, pressing or compacting, then sintering and sizing. If any extra operations you have used, suppose in manufacturing of oil impregnated boiling or porous bearing, we have used impregnation operation. Then we have used here one box. Below that, mention the name of the operation, and if any temperature zone you have used, or any time condition or parameters related to that process, you have to mention in that box. Okay, in this way you can draw the flow charts. At the end, you can write testing and inspection and the final component name here. This way you can draw the different components. Okay. So in this today's session, we have discussed the flow chart along with the steps involved in the manufacturing of self-lubricating bearing by powder metallurgy technique using this copper and tin mixture. Okay, by following these stages like mixing, pressing, sintering, sizing, impregnation, and testing and inspection of the component. And in the same way, we have discussed the manufacturing of sintered friction material. Okay, using different powder particles and different compacting and sintering temperatures. Then manufacturing of cemented carbide, different carbides like tungsten carbides, molybdenum carbides, and along with that, the cobalt powder is used as a binder. You can use nickel or chromium powder also as a binder, or you can use cobalt nickel compounds or cobalt nickel chromium alloys as the binders. And whichever binders you are using in this cemented carbide cutting tool, 20% amount you have to take of that binders. It may be metals or their alloys. And remaining 80% will be of that respective carbides. It may be tungsten carbide or that molybdenum carbide. Okay, and these tungsten carbides, all these components here, especially in this case, these carbides of this tungsten or molybdenum, then that cobalt powder, nickel powder, chromium powder, all these are manufactured by the chemical process known as a reduction method. Okay, reduction of their respective oxides with the help of carbon or hydrogen. These powder particles are obtained and they can be easily converted to their respective carbides, and that powder particles are used. Okay, then their uniform and homogeneous mixture is obtained in the mixing stage. Okay, in the mixing stage it is also termed as the milling. Okay, then it is given for the pressing, and in this milling or mixing operation we are adding the lubricants. Okay, different lubricants are added and there is sufficient amount of pressing is done at 35 to 45 kg per mm square. And after sufficient pressing, green compact is obtained, and then the pre-sintering is done at 400 degrees Celsius to remove the oil, and then preliminary sintering is conducted at 900 to 1150 degrees Celsius to give the sufficient strength and hardness. Then, if required, the sizing operation is performed in between this preliminary and final sintering. When sizing operation is done, and then it is given to the final sintering at high temperature zone 1350 to 1550 degrees Celsius, where the cobalt metal melts and it cements or binds the tungsten carbide or molybdenum carbide particles. Okay, and during this sintering only, diffusion, densification, recrystallization, and grain growth occurs. Then it is given to the machining operation. Machining operation is done in two ways: rough and fine machining. Okay, and then the cemented carbide cutting tool is obtained, which is tested and inspected for its properties, shape, size, and any kind of defect is present or not. In this way, we have completed this part. If you are not having any difficulty, I will stop here. Thank you. Thank you for attending this session. Thank you very much. And thank you. I will upload the YouTube link also. Please watch it through that. Previous session also, I will upload that session also. You can refer that session I have uploaded. You can refer the YouTube link also. Thank you. Thank you very much. If any doubts are there, please let me know via chat box. I will try to resolve it.